Yeah,
yes, we tried about 4 passwords. Sharon's just yelling them over the phone, so we had really high cyber security.
Well, that's okay. That's animal. Just texting when you're in trouble.
Well, yeah. If anyone was listening.
You can see us.
I can see you. I feel like it's probably larger than life on your screen, though.
Well, you are now. You weren't, but you are now.
Oh, okay, we'll be
Yes.
quiet.
So we've got 2 members that are not going to get here straight away. Councillor Kennedy will be here in probably 10 minutes or so, and Councillor Mead probably won't get here for an hour or so, so that's okay. Welcome. Thank you for coming along. Just to let the councillors know, I asked Jason to if he was okay for Simone to Zoom in with us, and the reason I did that was because I wanted to make sure I was clear in all this above the line and below the line funny money business that goes on, because obviously our way of explaining it all had changed again this year, and I wanted to comprehend it. And the work I've done with Simone on sustainability, and her credentials are in accountancy. She was accountant for the Mid-Murray Council, councillor for Mid-Murray Council, mayor for Mid-Murray Council. So she's got a good understanding, and I felt that I could lean on her a little bit. So that's what I've done, and Jason was happy for that as well. They communicated last week at the AGM, whatever it is. So Simone is just here to, I guess, answer any questions, and I guess she gave me I had a debrief with her this morning, and she's certainly put my mind at ease a fair bit. There's still some questions I have, but they're not as worrying as I thought they were. So it's quite good. So welcome, Simone. Thank you for attending.
No worries. Happy to help where I can.
Good to have you, Simone. Hello.
Okay.
Hello. I'm going to be quick. Am I sharing the wrong one? No. Thanks again for coming. Budget workshop number 5. I think we got to 6 last year, so let's hope 5 is it, and we beat last year. So I'm just going to quickly go through basically what we had last month, and also show you one stupid omission that I had in, and what the effects the stupid omission that I left out, and what effects that have had. But it's basically exactly the same as what we had. I've sent everything out to you. End of May,
Yeah,
a few weeks ago. Yeah, bottom left. So yeah, so just to give you a quick sort of intro, I want to mention the strategic documents again, because this is so important, and this is what you've rightly been talking to us about and getting stuck into us for the last few years. A road infrastructure asset management plan is now out for public consultation, which is fantastic. And I can confirm the buildings came in this morning. Right? 12 months later than when we started.
Excellent.
It's just to say.
Well, it says lots. It says lots, and I need to digest what it says lots and contest anything if it needs contesting, and understand it all. And we'll bring it back next month to you with all of what it means and what have you. So that's exciting. So there's only one we need to look at this year, which will be the plant asset management plan. And when coupled with the roads, that'll have us nice and organised about what we should and shouldn't be doing. I'm going to start with the operating statement. Again, we've got very similar, same revenue, same expenses there. We've had a reduction in a depreciation in the buildings from last month. So that means that our deficit has dropped to 62,000 instead of it being 101 like it was last time. That's the only change that's happened there. Yeah, so all the same, still doing all the same things, all the same operational activities that were mentioned. And then we come on to the cash flow statement, or the cash statement, which was the big, what we were talking about. So in the bold is the operational spend, and then underneath those is the projects within that sort of stream. Let's call it that business stream. So the one I've got highlighted there is the one I foolishly left out last month. I had in, we've got finance charges in all the way through. Finance charges was the interest, and this is where the above and below the line caught me out, where I had finance charges in, but I didn't have the principal repayment as part of the line. And so that's 192,000, which I've added back in there. And then with all the changes and the slight depreciation reduction, total cash expenses, total cash revenue is a cash surplus of 328,000 by my calculations there. Increase in cash at the end of the year. And then this was just going back through what all the projects were. We've spoken at length. The unsealed roads based on the condition assessment that Ben's done a lot of work there. Big one there, we've got TBC of 133,000. If you look over, is it going to show me?
Just going back to your sealed, haven't you got 500,000 in here? In the agenda? Yeah. Road reseal projects repairs to be confirmed, 500,000. You just said 600.
So, yeah, okay.
No, 2.6 is the same as the 500 in in the next one.
Yeah.
Next, no, we jumped over. Where did sealed come up there before?
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one shows 600, but in here it's 500.
Yeah. With the 500. Yeah, okay. Let's.
I think that
This is why we need a system that's got it all in.
because I think the depreciation figure for sealed was 750 or 850 or something.
750, yeah.
750.
Yeah.
So which is the number that we should be working on? One that's in the agenda or the one that's up there on the report?
The one in the agenda.
Okay, so 500.
Yeah. Yeah. One in the agenda.
Good, because that's what I made on my note.
Good. Yeah, and then we've got, I'll come back to that in a minute. Operations and maintenance, everything we're doing, patrol grading, seal road patching, line marking, tree roads, quarries, and all of that. That's where it is. It's done there.
So this garifying with no figure next to it, 100 Ks with no figure.
That's included in the 909.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So those two equal 101,000. And we've got the condition assessments, that's sealed there. Unsealed there, so Ben's concentrated on the 4s and the 5s here, and also got spot patching and what have you to bring the 5s into the 4s, and then more detail to bring the 4s over. And that's how we've come up with the schedule for this year, for next year, this coming year.
So it's probably worth asking now then, although I'd prefer now the guys are here, but we can run back over it. So does that mean with the motion that comes up later in the meeting about grading, it means that there's not the money there to grade the roads because we're using it for scarifying? And if we were to go back to the grading program of 909, which is what it used to be, because like the year before was 900,000, I think, from memory, then we wouldn't have the money to do the scarifying.
No, scarifying is part of your maintenance regime. Scarifying with topping up with resheeting as part of your resheeting program.
So there's 42.5 Ks, I understand, that's resheeting.
Resheeting,
Which has got scarifying, whatever.
The $140,000-$120,000 is to bring the 5s back to 4s. The patching, that'll incorporate scarifying and your 10-metre resheet.
Yeah, but do we need to add?
You know, what I mean is if you go back to that other slide, I'm just trying to understand the complications for later. So where you had your, there. So you're scarifying 100 kilometres, zero value, patrol grading 3,000 kilometres, 909, 452. And I think from what I've just heard that the 909, 452 is actually for patrol grading and the 100 Ks of scarifying, because that's not part of your resheet.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be why, so if we wanted to actually put the 3 patrol graders out doing their patrol grading, there wouldn't be any money for scarifying for that 100 Ks.
Correct, but you would still use you've still got money to be able to scarify and patrol grade versus your construction crew would sort of slow down during your wet season. It's not ideal to resheet during really winter, but is primed to be able to then go scarify. So you're still using the same crew to scarify, but ultimately you're not renewing your road. That's not capitalised unless you top it up with additional rubble.
Yeah.
So in that other spreadsheet that you saw, you had $140,000 for 10 metre resheet.
Yeah.
That is scarifying plus topping up of resheeting or topping up the material. Scarifying and patrol grading is out of the same budget.
So you would be able to do both.
Yes. And the theory is we've bought scarifying blades for the other 2 graders. So theoretically you would have 3 scarifying graders during the peak season and a patrol grading with flat blades on during the peak season. During winter.
And you said peak for both of them. So you do flat grading in winter and scarifying in summer?
No, what I'm saying, you only scarify in the deepest part of winter.
Yeah.
Because you've got enough water to be able to do it, enough moisture around the place. What I'm saying is at the moment we dedicate the construction crew that has a roll and a water cart to do that 100 Ks, and they did that last year.
Yeah.
We're saying that we've got scarifying blades for the other 2 graders. So we'll have 3 cat graders with scarifying blades on that has potential to be able to re-scarify the major roads when they're going around their precinct. The other times, the 4th grader will be flat grading only. Flat grading.
No.
Your 900,000 is to do scarifying and patrol grading.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to clarify if this motion were to go through later tonight and we resume the kind of grading program we were doing previously, that you have enough money in the budget to do that you would be looking for more money. That's what I'm trying to understand. Does that have a financial complication? Yeah.
It doesn't have financial implication because the labour and the machinery is there.
Yeah.
That's just how you use it.
Okay.
Whether it's flat blading during summer or if it's scarifying during winter, that's just how you do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Condition assessment, like I said, we've been through all of this. We've got stormwater. As per asset management plan, we've got CWS as per the asset management plan. We've got plant as well as this includes the IT renewal as well, the dam system that we have to upgrade. We've got building some property coming in at 220. It's 155 plus the other 2. And then we get into the rates. So
Seems like she's got here. I'll just we've got Simone on the line, who's the Mayor of Mid-Murray and also an council accountant. So I asked her to give me some guidance to make sure that I understood the above and below the line stuff that was happening and that it was all kosher from my perspective long term. And that's why she's agreed to sit in for us with this first part. She doesn't need to be here for the meeting or anything. It's just really to answer any questions. She certainly allayed my fears about above and below the line because I was really worried about that. I've heard it so many times. I have other questions about the budget, but not ones that are intrinsically structural. They're just questions.
Yep.
So I think I don't want Simone to have to sit there all meeting and everyone that's not what she's here for. She's here really to answer anyone's questions to find out if you feel happy with the structure of it, because I was certainly allaying some fears last time about how could you do all this extra work and yet you're not asking for more money. It didn't add up in my head.
yeah,
With me, it's just taken an easy process and added above the line and below the line to make it really difficult so that people don't understand it.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it anyway. Why can't it be a big pot of money? this is what we got at the end. That's it.
I guess they got accounting standards they got to do. But the other thing that Simone helped me understand was that obviously we come in from business, and business, you want a surplus. We were trained by John Comrie, who said we should have a surplus. So we've gone hell and high water to make sure we've got surpluses, and we see deficits. Alarm bells go off. You know, we don't want to be running with deficits. In my discussion with Simone today, she said, look, you know, there's two ways to look at that. One is you shouldn't be collecting ratepayer money and putting it in the bank for a rainy day, because you've got the LGFA behind you. If you get stuck, you know, and you need money, you can do it. Now, obviously, we came from a position where we didn't have money to pay out entitlements and that sort of stuff. So there is a hole too deep you don't want to get into.
Yeah.
But around this sort of small surplus, small deficit, it's not the end of the world. Whereas I saw deficit as an absolute bad thing to have. Yeah. And an above the line deficit. And I think I'm right in saying that, aren't I, Simone? I've taken that correctly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm a big believer in not collecting it from somebody who may not benefit from it later. So trying to keep everything, you know, take it in and spend it at the same time.
You mean farmers?
Can I also state about that as well, though? You guys were right to get stuck into us about concentrating on the doing what we can to not use overdrafts. We've had an extra $20,000 this year just from not using it. So that criticism and the what the hell are you doing was bang on. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that as well, that even though we're saying no, it's all right, the deficit's fine, you were definitely right to
Oh no, I'm still going to move the deficit's not right. I'm just saying it's not that it's not the hair on fire that I was, and it never was at the small amount that it was.
Yeah.
But you know, it's very easy in future chambers to go from small amounts to big amounts.
That's exactly right.
Next minute,
When you looked at all the holiday that was owing here.
the entitlements.
Yeah, like that was just, you know, if we had to pay all that out, we didn't have that in the bank. We'd have to borrow it.
That's right.
Like,
And that's where
should you be doing that?
Yeah.
these short-term loans through the LGFA are basically our overdraft, like you would have in a business. The problem is when you dip into an overdraft, you've got to pay it back.
Yeah, they're not even free, are they?
No, they're not interest-free, and you've got to pay it back. So there's good purposes for debt and there's bad purposes for debt. But I just wanted to make the point that, you know, I was very much anti any deficit. I still am, to be honest. But Simone has switched me around from worrying too much about a surplus. Having said that, our budget review process in the years we've been in this chamber have been terrible. We always start out in surplus and we always end up close to, if not in deficit. So that's why we were like, well, we need to have a bigger surplus because we always end up in deficit anyway. Whereas hopefully through this process, we're getting closer to having figures that are matching. But even in BR3, you have a look at the amount of things that are, no, we didn't need that, we didn't need that, we didn't need that. Oh, here's a big cucumber. And so you still do end up in the same spot. So does anyone else have any sort of structural, would it be right with me asking that, Simone? That's really all you can answer is structural sort of things, whether we decide to put something in or take something out. It's not Simone's issue, but is everyone au fait with how it's working and why it's working? Is there any questions in your mind? I'd rather you ask them and feel happy in your own mind that you understand what's happening. Because I didn't. It took me my whole holiday. I did sit in a few hotels and read the things and go, okay, now I think I get it.
I guess to me, Valentine's point and something that we spoke to on the phone this morning was in your operations. So what's on screen at the moment has depreciation in it. Depreciation isn't a monetary figure. So what was shown by Jason at the start about your cash flow, that's more important when you're worried about what money in your bank. So here it might show $62,000 in deficit, but a huge part of that would be depreciation. So if you're not spending that much in capital, you know, that's where your cash flow statement's more important. And I said to Ron, when I ran a nursing home, I would actually present to the board, hey, we've made an operating loss of 100,000, but 500,000 is depreciation. So we've actually got a 400,000 plus cash position. So they're the kind of things that we have to think about. And it's not, I'm not saying don't ignore the deficit. And my council had 9 out of 10 years of deficit before I came on board. So it's something we should be working on. But it's just keeping in mind that, you know, if you're not spending that much in capital, your cash position's not going backwards.
I the ramifications of what has happened and the differences between last year and what you've been presented is, and I've had words with Tony and with Vanessa about it, because with what we're doing and allocating it correctly. So again, we're spending the same amount of money. We really are. But with the allocation, what that means, if we looked at last year's budget and we did it the same as what we're allocated this year, right, we'd probably have a surplus of $400,000, if not more, right? So that's going to, because we didn't have nowhere near as much depreciation last year, right? So we would have had a huge surplus, which everyone would have been happy days on a 5%, maybe not even a 5% rates increase. It changes how you make your decisions. So if we had have just taken what was presented to you last year and rolled it over and said, right, now we need to find $1 million, $1 million, we would still be doing the same amount of work. Right, capital work. We'd still be doing the same amount of work, but we would have been asking for an extra 10% or whatever it was.
If we don't
Right.
spend the depreciation, we're still behind though, aren't we? Because we're not doing the work that we're supposed to do.
Not
Considering
necessarily.
we're not following the policies, because we're meant to be spending that money.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
still behind.
Yeah, and there's going to be peaks and troughs with that, with each side of.
So what I'm saying is
with each-
this happens
with each-
every single year where it shouldn't.
Hmm.
I mean, over the last 20 years, there wouldn't be a year where all the depreciation's been spent where it's meant to be spent.
Well, that, I think to your point, Luke, that budget meeting 6 in here last year that got semi-heated with Vanessa on the line, and that's where we ended up with the $800,000 or $900,000 additional spend in unsealed roads this year, came from us saying, we're going to get hit by depreciation. We were told off for not having done our revaluation when we were supposed to have. We hadn't been indexing it annually, so it was decided there was an index figure of that sort of money brought forward in depreciation, and we said, well, that was going to go at that point. That was going to go into cash or into our position.
Yeah, it was.
And we said, no. We need to spend that on our roads and our infrastructure because it's been underspent for years and years and years. So the bit that I was going to be bringing up later, and what I isn't necessarily for Simone to have to sit around and hear all of our rubbish, but not rubbish, but she had a council meeting yesterday. She's been through her own budget stuff.
Spent.
But it's saying, well, I agree with you, Luke. Our matrix, our asset management plans, and our valuations are telling us we should be spending 4.7 million in depreciation on our assets. And that goes in as an expense and goes wherever it goes. The reality is we're not doing that. We're allocating 4.199. Sealed roads is interesting because that's in here at 500. We know that's an area that we have massive sealed works to come up. There'll be some carryover WIP projects as well, but there are existing, new things to come up. I'm told about Enterprise Road and told about edges and all sorts of things. So I'm with you. I think saying we would be doing a smaller rate increase and whatever because we're in a better cash position, that's not really correct.
No.
Because we know we've got a backlog of stuff, not to mention buildings and stuff, as Campbell had said last meeting. So I reckon it's that for me, I've got about 5 things, and that's one that's a real stumbling block, is to underspend. It was more about knowing what you're spending and then maybe saying we can't afford to spend that. So we're going to carry over 500 of spending that we should have done, making the public aware of it.
But, I mean, this would be mismanagement from the start, wouldn't it? If you're not spending the depreciation, obviously you've overspent and spent too much on all the good things and built too many buildings, and you're not spending money on it where you're supposed to.
I would have thought there'd be a mix, and so I'm probably.
Am I wrong in saying that? Because if you haven't got the money to maintain those things in the future.
Yeah, but doesn't mean you have to spend it that year, or can you be saving it to do it later?
It says you need to spend it. Read in the policy, you need to spend it on that year. It has to be spent.
It could be just saved and allocated to that for when, like, you might not replace a building this year, but in 10 years' time you need to.
But look where we are right
You
now.
have enough money.
We haven't spent any money on anything for the last 20 or more than 20 years on all these buildings. Have a look at them.
But that's,
We have spent.
I think it's important to understand that, though. That's how depreciation works with your asset management plans. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. But it says, well, like we sat outside and said, that building, its roof lasts for 25, 50 years, whatever it is. And it says the roof's worth 100 grand and it lasts for 100 years. So you got to put away $1,000 a year to do that roof. Well, you don't actually put it away. What it says is in 100 years, the roof is going to be the priority. And in the 99 years, you spend that money on other things. And then on the 100th year, you're spending it on the roof.
To me, depreciation is only important to council when it's them allocating money to things and moving it around. But when people are saying, hey, why aren't we spending this money on the buildings? It's a non-important issue. That's the way that I've seen it.
I think I would say, because it's not these guys, but I would but I would say historically, as I think Jason rightfully pointed out at the beginning, our strategic documents, and I've made my head's on the chopping block for this all over, and every media you can poke out, they were bad. They were wrong. They weren't up to scratch. Those strategic documents, the asset management plans, the useful lives, they're working through roads ones and that's out for thing now. So when that's wrong, you can't possibly have the correct depreciation, which then means you don't have the right works program. You could not do the work. We could have not done that $800,000 of extra road work last year. And that means we would have come into this year, which is what was originally proposed in Budget Review 6, was that we're going to come in with like 933, I might have even been just over $1 million in cash below the line as a figure, which we're not trying to rebuild the cash position through depreciation and not fixing the asset. We need to rate correctly to get our cash position back right, which I'll propose later. But we wanted to spend it on the roads and then at some point the buildings. So anyway, that's a long way around saying that, I think it's a little bit problematic. We've got to be careful how we speak about it, because I don't think it was ever that we would go happy days, we can lower the rates because we're in a good position, because we're not. We've still got a lot of asset load to deal with.
Because when you add up the depreciation, we're not.
Well, if you said to Ben,
not spending it.
here's another $1 million a year and you can go out and contract to do more roads. He's not going to say I don't have roads to do.
Correct, but I guess from an asset management sense, every bit of rubble you put on road, you're trying to get the depth of 150 mil across your network. Similar to a building that you only do it once in a certain time, because you don't replace iron for iron, for example, you wait for it to deteriorate. Rubble, you can build up to that 150 mil and it will wear down slightly. You can always build up to it and then go, right, we've got our roads where we need to do. We condition rate them every 4 years, get valuation prices. We know what our roads are like. Again, you're maintaining those anyway by getting shade, getting compaction, getting a riding surface. If you've got rubble, you can do that. If you don't have rubble and you've got nothing there, you got to spend 80 grand a year or 80 grand a kilometre to build that rubble back up, to get some shape, to get that rideability back, which is what your service level is, rideability for roads. So slightly different with unsealed roads is because you can put it on there. Sealed roads, the equivalent is you seal the road quicker than what you need to. You're overspending money on it. If you can extend your life of it and get it to a certain point that it's rough, but then you can get it with a reseal, that's cool. Let it go too far and you have to rebuild the road, that's costly.
I think the biggest trouble was when the pool was gone, that was 1.1 million. We didn't have stuff put aside for fixing the pool up, did we? That was something that just showed up.
Well, just recently.
Yeah, last year.
The 100 and something thousand for the hole in the pool at Pinaroo.
Yeah, plus I mean the $1 million we spent on the Lameroo pool, like that.
3 million.
Yeah, well, that wasn't envisaged that we'd have to do that. Like that was something
that was part of that project.
Yeah.
That's where you've got to be very careful with putting money aside to attract grants. Is that because at the moment there are no grants for renewal; they're only for upgrade.
Okay.
And so you rebuild the Lameroo pool and upgrade it to this new thing, and you spend millions of dollars on it, when if that grant wasn't there and you needed to do the pool, you might have spent 500,000 renewing it and not
upgrade
2.5 million upgrading it. But then you wouldn't have got the grant.
You would have thought the hole would have been picked up in Pinaroo, wouldn't you? But
All right, so any question? Has anyone? That's what I use Simone for, and she's been good for me, and I appreciate your help, Simone, because I know you're massively under the pump. Yeah. Is everyone else comfortable with just that structure side? Because I certainly have more questions, but they're not ones that Simone needs to waste her night sitting there and listening. She doesn't get paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Sounds like we're all pretty happy, Simone. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
I'm still going to talk to you.
Sounds good. See ya.
All right, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay then. Far away with your 5.
Oh, look, I guess I went through this capital works because I obviously holidays happen and they're always at the worst time, but once they come out in the agenda, I thought, oh, well, there's out in the public domain now, so we're out. So I just wrote out our building programs plus 247,000, our transport infrastructure is actually only plus 85. But what it is we've put 343 into unsealed, and we've dropped sealed by 400, because we were at 900 last year. That was obviously project based, but it was also understanding that we had to spend more on sealed roads.
Yeah, those projects we've still got.
Well, so yeah, so Simona alighted to me and I understood what she said. We can't actually put existing projects in a budget because they've already been paid for.
Yeah.
So I'll bring up one of the 5 is that we actually have a report come to the council in July for carryover projects to make sure that that 1.7 million or whatever it might be.
Standard report every August, isn't it?
Because the accounts go right through from about the 15th.
Yeah.
And so I thought that too, but then when you look at BR3,
Do that.
no, we've got $340,000 of hits for things like the building asset condition report, the road condition report, but we've funded these a year ago.
Yeah.
So they should have been dealt with in that August.
Yeah.
BR1, it's still affecting us in BR3. And I know this is where I do have the problem with above and below the line, because I know you read the thing, it's like nothing to see here, it doesn't affect you, but it does because our headline figure keeps dropping to counteract those things. So I guess
that report is on top of BR1 as well. The carry forwards should be a report.
so I guess that was
Every year.
what I noted was that I feel we're under allocating for sealed works, and I think that's dangerous. Because we know we've got massive amounts and there are projects. All we've got carrying over is Turrigat Well, which is going to be underfunded to buggery. There's no way it's going to be, $200,000 or $300,000. Not Karkuma, but Turrigat Well repair. If it costs us 555,000 or whatever for Kolkamai, you can bet your bottom dollar Turrigat Well is going to be millions. So why we're under allocating here I think is bad. So that's the first thing. The second one was that ensuring that carryover report to make sure that we're not losing the 1.8, because when I look at BR3, if I look at budget and BR3 together, BR3 nowhere does it assume that money's getting carried over. It doesn't even appear there at the moment. It's just in the ether because it's in people, it's in plant, it's in all these things. But if we don't do those 2 projects, those people must have been doing something. I'm assuming they were maybe contracts for the sealed works anyway. So it's just making sure that gets carried over properly. Me personally, the 5%, I have an issue with that, and I want to propose later on that we do CPI plus 1% in the long-term financial plan for 10 years for cash rebalancing, 50 grand a year basically, so that by the end of 10 years we actually end up hopefully positive $500,000, not always on the scraping zone. And it should go in the long-term financial plan as like 1% per year starting with this year. And then the Clay Road policy, we've got a policy now and we've not put any money to it, and yet we've spoken about it numerous times. So for me personally, I'll be putting later on in the meeting that I think we should look at 4% again in the long-term financial plan to say at least there's a couple $100,000 a year. If you don't use them for Clay, you can put it to the bottom line, you can spend it on another project. But if it's not in the long-term financial plan, it's not in the long-term financial plan. And we struggled with that when we first came in. The LTFP for 10 years didn't have diddly squat in it. And so for me, that would add up to like a 9.6. So it would be CPI 4.6, 1% for cash rebuilding and 4% for Clay Roads. But that's not taking into account that in my view, we're underspending. Well, we are against our asset management, our depreciation, we're underspending by $496,571 as well.
Yeah.
Which is why the numbers, when you first brought out the budget and I sort of went white in the face and went, I need to go and understand this, was about how can we go from needing, $1.5–2 million, which we've known from day one, to all of a sudden we only need a 5% rate increase and we're going to be okay. And the reality is we're not, but it's not it's not hair on fire stuff, but we're not covering off those things. And the other one, and then you can, and then it was to understand what's currently in, I'm assuming we've got some kind of WIP report that we run with, work in process. It's referred to in some of the documents here. I think it'll be really advantageous when we have a BR review and when we do the budget that we've got a WIP, a current state of play for WIP to know, because the work in process will have those projects from the previous thing, like what are you working on, what's likely to be finished, what's not. Because at the moment the BR3's got like, I don't know, 11 points or something, and there's a lot in there to digest. And it would be nice to know that it's covered up in a work in process.
Yeah.
Depreciation allowance for, and the last one was that, was it last one? No, it's not last one. There's no allowance, or should we be making an allowance for non-payment of rates? We seem to have a non-payment of rates every year, yet we're going into every budget expecting we're going to get full payment on rates. It seems to be a bit, we should have like a liability in there saying, look, you know, we run on average, sorry. Yeah.
So I'm still not allowed to say names of people who don't pay rates.
No, but we have got the rates.
I mean, I really like to.
The rates are in BR3 as to what's not there, and there's questions about that, but for the meeting. But in the budget, I think it's a bit inane that you go in saying, well, this is our rates and this is what our numbers are going to be when you're talking such fine figures, you know, $60,000 deficit. But by the way, we're probably not going to collect $100,000 to $200,000 of the rates.
I mean, there's one that we definitely know we won't get. And you won't get that for 5 years until it gets to the point where we really need to kick them up the arse to pay it.
So I just wonder whether it shouldn't be in here as a liability and whether that affects the budget.
Because it should be, because it should have been shown up for all the years.
Yeah, well, it hasn't, and what we're doing is consuming that in our cash flow.
Yeah, that's right. You're losing whatever, 100 grand or 200
So
grand.
again, I mean, we are forced in the chamber to make a lot of decisions for 10, 20, 30 grand, both for community groups and inside of council operations. And, you know, $100,000 or $200,000 of rates is it's a big deal. It adds up to a lot of things. So there was that one, and I don't know if that's 5, but anyway, the last one was, there was capital projects meant that were in the budget for this year that didn't happen, curbing namely. Prices blew out. It was going to be brought back to 26/7 budget. I don't see it anywhere in here. The prices were obviously off the chart, but I'm assuming those gutters haven't got any better. So it's, I guess I'm concerned, and that's why the WIP report is an important thing, because obviously I imagine it doesn't come off of there. It just is, I think in your report it says it's postponed or it's, you know, stopped, but it's not in here. So it's not in the budget, which means I assume that means we're not tackling it for another 12 months. Or is it going to be brought in at a budget review and saying, hey, we need $150,000 to do these curbs? So it bothers me that it was in budget for this year, not happening because it was too dear and we couldn't afford it, or we wanted to look at options, and now it's not in the budget at all. And those things are, again, of a concern. So I think if you add all them up, we are probably approaching that, you know, that $1.5 to $2 million we've got to find, which we weren't going to do all in one hit. But we need to explain it, and certainly in my mayor's forward to the budget, I want to be able to say, hey, our depreciation figure is 4.7, but because we know we can't afford to, you know, get a 20% rate increase, we're going to spread that load over X amount of years. But then bearing in mind, that's going to go up every year. That 4.7 is going to be 5 next year or whatever, and it's just going to keep going because that moves with the costs of.
But then again, that's just going to get us to a point where we want to be today. That we're still going to be
absolutely.
We'll still be behind.
We'll always be.
Yeah.
And that's where I personally want to try and make sure that we're using this budget to help us inform the long-term financial plan, which is written in there that we have to do in the second half of this year. Once we get all these reports in, well, we want to make sure that we're informing that properly with this budget. Otherwise, we're wasting our time again. So that's my collection.
No, that's quite all right.
I don't think any of those are alarming. They're just
No, they're not. The rates one we'll talk about at the end, because that's a conversation for all of you to have.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like you said, there's nothing crazy in there. But definitely listened this time last year when you felt that we were okaying projects and then you're pulling them out and then we didn't know anything about them.
Yeah.
And then they're just getting absorbed. So that's not happening. So we've got carry forward projects that I can tell you are definitely carry forward. I've actually put them all through after our chat yesterday, Ron. So we've got the Pinaroo Main Street for 600,000. We've got 737 left over from the 900. Yeah, Ben, that sounds about right. Yeah. For what's called Seal Road repairs, which everyone internally knows as Turrigat World. And then
we topped up Colquhoun.
Yeah.
So that's where that money was. So we transferred from general Seal Road construction across into Colquhoun. That bumped it up to 527-ish.
Yeah.
555 budget.
Yeah.
That's where that's gone. 2 work in progress is Turrigat Well and Main Street of Pinaroo.
Yeah.
So we said the Turrigat Well is probably a higher priority because that needs to happen versus Pinaroo is, I guess, we can push out a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's get the pricing back on Turrigat Well. We know what it's going to be. Then we can put it in front of council, work out a decision. Do exactly the same for Main Street of Pinaroo.
Yeah.
What did those results say for the Turrigat Well? You know, they did the drilling and stuff like that, but that was back.
Still waiting.
Mate,
Let me come
wait.
back.
I
Yep.
have had a cold, so I feel really hot, but that's all right. If no one else, that's fine.
Cheers.
Take your shirt off.
Well,
I can take my t-shirt off.
I'm not that much.
let's go blue.
It's wearing jeans.
So when you add that with Colquhoun, what we've spent this year, and it'll go over the 2 years. That's 1.9 million.
Yeah, that's the total. Yeah.
With the total, with the 500, sorry, for next year is going to be 2,400,000. Yeah, 2.4 million. Over about the 3 years, which equals about the $800,000 we should be spending a year anyway.
Yeah, but that's fixing up stuff ups and not.
That's exactly
Well, it's fixing up backlog. It's not looking forward. They're all both in the revision mirror.
No, Turrigat Well's stuff up.
Yeah. I understand.
Yes, and it kills our spirit that we have to spend money to start up.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's. I had a chat with a constituent today for a while, and it was all on roads. And I think what kills their spirit is not knowing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so they then draw conclusions that we're a bunch of nutties because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas if this said the budget is X and the budget, been saying for years, the budget would end up so big we can't possibly fund it in a year. But if we can then say, look, we're going to do this rate increase, whatever goes through the chamber, this is the rate increase we're going to do. If we were going to fund it all, we needed to do this. So we've elected not to do this, this and this until we seek some feedback from the public or whatever the rationale might be. But to then, if you do it so they then know, oh, okay, this is what we're meant to be paying. This is what it is. And basically we're getting a credit at the moment. We're not being charged that until we sort shit out.
Yep.
To not say it in the first place, not let them know that this is the roads that need doing and this is the budget we should be putting and this is the rates we should be raising if we can't find savings internally, then they don't know. So they assume it's all okay.
To be fair, some of them don't listen either.
Oh, no, I fully get that. No, I absolutely
And I say
understand
that to their faces.
No, look.
They don't listen.
So many
Or they
people
do
are
listen and
engaged.
they just take what they want out of it.
Whoever summed it up perfectly once before, if you want to get them engaged, do something
That's right.
consequential. I understand that fully. But for the ones that do engage, it should make sense and you should be able to point to it. And when you're having a conversation with someone and say, well, here it is, this is what it should have been, and we elected to go this way. Even if it's, well, we know we've got to fund 10 million, so we're going to do an extra X amount per year for the next 10 years, because that's what the long-term financial plan is meant to be about.
Yeah.
Chewing off those bits of elephant bite at a time.
Yeah.
So that's my views on budget.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, of course, the other thing, sorry, I will, because I went through your books and I compared them to the previous books. So it was interesting to note the buildings and other structures were up 5%, infrastructure and transport was down 12% of allocation, as in council's capital allocation.
Mm-hmm.
Plant and machinery was up 7%, and infrastructure, common effluent was even. So it's just when you go back and compare the years, it's quite interesting to see where those allocations go and what happens, and those projects that we cancel from time to time. The other thing that comes up is you can never get rates to balance. it says a 5% increase and you go, well, it's not 5% on that figure and it's not 5 on that figure and oh, maybe it's 5 on that figure. They're not out massively, but it's always a different figure.
Yeah, so carry forward. All our carry forwards are sealed roads. Is our sealed roads, and like you said, it's fixing. But still, that's cash that has been budgeted for this year and last year in the budget. So the carry forward is to take that cash through. So it's not. We don't need to find an extra 2.4 because we've already budgeted for it. We should already have that cash in the
Working process.
Yeah. The WIP reports was what I was really hoping the annual business plan projects in the council meeting was going to be. You see what's happening, what's going on. You've also got how much is spent and that sort of stuff in there. Is what the design was what that was supposed to be.
Well, I guess if they end up being in there, then
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean.
because there are things when you go back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'll double check. Okay.
Yeah.
I admit sometimes it can get there's a lot of detail in there now that a bit more than we.
That's good.
We can pull it back whenever you want. I would not pull back the annual business plan project report though. That's one. That's the WIP report that.
They'll be looking at it and looking for it.
And also not just give you a printout of a WIP and say, here we are, here's how much is spent. Good luck. Actually have what's going on and what the staff are doing, where they're up to, why it's delayed, that sort of stuff in there to give you more detail and just more understanding about what the numbers mean.
So I guess to that point then, if that's the document we should use, like I say, those curbs are in there as on hold, but if they're not carried over into the next one, they'll because they're not appearing on this business plan, on this budget.
Yeah, and then in February, March, it's been we absorbed them into budget allocations through budget review too.
So it's not on hold anymore, it's gone.
It should, complete really, but not complete.
Yeah.
So these carried over ones, there should be 1.8 million sitting somewhere in the bank. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That deep breath.
Yeah. Yes. So if we were starting from cash positive position, yes. We were starting from overdrafts.
Right.
No, we didn't start this year with overdrafts.
No, but when we started doing all of this, the budgets then had overdrafts included to be able to fund them.
So is that where that $1 million of
That's right. In the
borrowings
yeah,
that didn't make any sense to me is?
that's exactly what that is.
It's any wonder we go crazy, as in stir crazy, trying to make sense of it. Because that I was exactly where Dave was. I looked in here to see, well, we've spent 171,000 at 1.9 million or something, and I thought, well, okay, there's going to be bills come through for compromise, so maybe by the end of June, maybe not. But even if it did, there's still 1.4-ish that should be in excess. And like you look into the figures, like, well, where does that sit? So I was looking for the same thing, like where's this plus 1.4?
Yeah. Is that when I was asking where that 900,000 sitting in the account?
Yeah. So with carry forwards definitely be carrying forward. What else was there? There was the roads. We'll talk about that one at the end. Long-term financial plan needing to see.
Well, that stuff for the meeting, it's not to be made a decision here, but that was just my view of saying, well, I think the long-term financial plan should have an allocation in it to rebuild the cash position, like the actual surplus, above the line surplus, which is the one so that you've got enough. If someone leaves, you don't have to pull it from somewhere else. You can actually pay it.
Yeah.
Or if you want to proactively deal with that excess leave, that you can actually pay them out.
Yeah. We can definitely put that in the assumptions.
And well, that's for the meeting tonight, because hopefully we can get to a point in the meeting tonight, but that's just people have their own view, and this is not for making decisions, but that's just the stuff that when I reviewed it, I went, well, we're supposed to be, I think a lot of the work that's been done is good, and don't get me wrong, I think it is. I think, we're getting these plans as long in the tooth as they are, and still not knowing whether the Lameroo Hall's got structural issues or not, and still seeing grass growing out the gutters of the Lameroo Hall as I drove past tonight. It's like, really? I thought that was all clean a month ago. Sorry.
Yes, yesterday on the way to yours. Yeah,
Yeah. So you knew I was going to say it.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's just like, so there's tick, this is great, this is great, this is great. We're getting somewhere, we're making process. And for councillors who are about to finish our term, it's like frustrating as all hell going, all we're going to leave behind is some documents.
But
Which is good.
I think it's a little bit more than. I think, and this is sort of diverting a little bit from the budget, but I've been thinking about this quite a bit. With you leaving, and whether it's now or whenever, or whether it's November or 12 months or whenever it is.
I think you can bet on April.
And you've said that a couple of times. I think it's been important that that you have ridden us, right? And I think it's important that the three of us that are in here now, Ben and I, definitely have listened and have made sure we've made the changes.
Sorry, Tony.
No, yeah.
It's all right, he wasn't listening.
Because it's forced us to do a lot of soul searching, hard work, find the answers, make sure that when we're talking in this room, make sure when we're talking to you guys, we've opened everything up more than the council has before, that when we're presenting stuff to you, that it makes sense and that it's actually factual. So I think if you left now, and I think even in the last 15 months or whatever it is, I think you should be happy that you have kicked us up the bum enough that change has been made, that real change has been made. And I feel like we're at the top of being organised now. And a few more procedures we need to work out internally, but there's a couple of those there that we can really get some movement and actually you can have some trust in your administration again, is what I'm trying to say. It feels a little bit like that. You can say I'm talking out my ass if you like.
No.
Is there anything though, back to the budget? So we've got this document in later on. Do you want to discuss it now? Because we can discuss it. We're not making decisions now, but we can discuss it. If the rates are going up, is there projects in or out? Is there any other questions we've got on it? Because the reason I've left it pretty similar is because a couple of you did say, if you can make this work, this is awesome. Yeah. So, forever now.
Yeah. I remember years ago, there used to be, if you didn't pay your rates on the due date, it used to be 5% extra. Is that still happening?
Yeah, should be.
It still happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I thought we could sell
So
them back.
on the next day, if you don't pay it, it's 5% more.
2% extra.
2% is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to be 5, but and then when does that roll over again?
Is that a policy that can be changed?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we could put that up to like 10%.
Yeah, find an interest. Yeah, that's right.
Just like,
Yeah.
set timeframe for next 2 days.
Is it 2% a month?
2% interest rate, I can't tell you exactly.
Yeah, on the
Depends on.
balance. Yeah.
Just so it's cheap to get money for them.
There's a fine as well.
They're a fine as well.
Qualifying.
Is it
Yeah,
2? Yeah, but is it
and it's just
2%? Yeah, calculated monthly, calculated quarterly.
It's just cheaper than Spain.
So it'll be.
I like
it'll
it.
be 8%.
Actually.
And then once it goes to, after only a few months in that, it goes to Armour, and then they chuck fines and interest on. So then they're chasing everything because they want to get their pay. What they,
Can I make a suggestion, David? Put a question on notice to have the factual stuff bought, because all you're saying is it should cost them more to owe rates, and it should.
Don't pay interest.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that there's a reason for them to want to do it, and it should hurt a little bit.
Yeah,
Because it's meant to hurt a
we
little bit.
mentioned before there's some that don't pay. I thought it was after 3 years council can sell them up or whatever, but Luke said it was 5 years. I thought it was 3.
It's 3.
No, it's 3 years that starts the process and then the process.
3 years,
takes
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
another
double.
12 months.
Takes a while.
Yeah.
Someone can pay an amount of money and that starts.
I mean, was it $90,000 that was only paid not that long ago for 5 years? Or is that hasn't been paid yet?
But
Can't comment. Yeah,
we can,
is that lost in the mail?
yeah, in the rates modelling, do we look at unpaid rates and
Yeah,
it's
sure.
based on, I think it's based, our increases are based on what we received.
Well, not, no. Increases, I checked in here, it's 5% is based on the top line figure.
It's what we should, right,
Should get.
yeah, we should get.
Well, I reckon there needs to be a
Yeah.
bigger penalty there anyway, like, and it should accrue, like, yeah, if you just pay 2% for 3 years. And just pay maybe $1,000 off every year, is that enough to get you over the line to?
Well, it's a good time to bring it up. The Audit and Risk Committee did say you need a debt collection policy, so we have got that to do, and we will put all of this in.
Yeah, we've got that covered through the rates policy.
Yeah, but they said they want a separate debt collection
So
policy.
what did the rate policy say?
Off the top of my head, no, I'm not sure, but we can certainly.
Pretty please pay it.
that's in it.
Yeah.
Take it like.
And I think even the rules, you know, it'd be worth reviewing it even around, you know, if you can be hounded and pay a little bit and it restarts the clock again.
Yeah, that's.
As opposed to, you know, and so that's just an endless ongoing.
It
So-
shouldn't be a system, it should be an obligation.
Yeah. Well, you're asking for other questions then, so.
To me, I reckon the shade at the swimming pool, there's a shade up there already. I don't know why we've got to spend $45,000 on something that's actually not viable for us and is not 100% committed by the community.
At the toddler's pool.
Yeah. There's a shade they can sit under.
Oh, yeah, I think it's when they're actually in the pool.
Well,
Because there was apparently one over there which was pulled down when they did the revamp of the thing and then obviously didn't replace it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I can't remember what the pool
Yeah.
was.
That's what I heard too. It was supposed to be replaced.
Considering it's only getting used 3 months of the year.
That's right.
I guess depends on if the election's going to be changed. If the election date's not going to be changed, I wouldn't worry about it. But if it is going to be changed, I probably wouldn't mind seeing maybe some work done on the historical building across the road there. Because they need a new roof. That's been in for, they've asked for that last quite a few years.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yep.
I think it's not a done deal. You'll find out tonight, but I think it's highly likely.
Yeah, I'm
That'll
reading
be
into that
April.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be,
Yeah.
Are they meeting today?
it's going in, yeah.
I thought
In
it
the,
was in Parliament today.
as far as where it's in today,
Yeah.
you'll find out
Got
tonight.
it passed.
Yeah.
It's coming, the Greens have already said they'll support it in principle, so I can't see how it won't get through.
Yeah.
And it was going to be June and then we can thank our friend that was on here. She did a fair bit of advocacy with the LGA and the government to say that's a dumb time to be changing it at budget passing time. April's bad enough.
Yeah.
Because originally they were going to extend it by a full year, but that was to separate the elections from state and local. But this is just supposed to be about the electoral commission. But I see the commissioner's resigned today.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been there for the whole time anyway.
Yeah.
So I think you can pretty much bank on it's going to be April.
Yeah, so like we're underspending by 300 something grand for depreciation. So yeah, if we don't have a project coming up for that and we've underspent on buildings the last couple of years, I probably wouldn't mind seeing that in there. I think they've been asking for it since about 2010. So yeah.
so in those assessments, which we should have a building assessment for that property,
Yeah.
why do we necessarily have to replace the whole roof? I mean, it looks good, but
I was
old
going to.
steel, there'd be weaknesses in spots. It wouldn't all be clacked.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was actually going to say. You know, this is where we need to see that report, see what's in it.
Well, that's kind of why I haven't brought it up earlier, is because we're waiting for this.
Yes,
You know.
endlessly waiting.
But yeah, well,
Made me hit the desk that made me hit the desk in public in front of you guys.
Because also it's still another unviable building. Like it's not, like it's a building, but it's not.
yeah, I mean, none of our buildings are bringing in the money to pay for themselves.
Yeah, but at least some have had the use, but some have not.
But that one's used pretty fairly well. Yeah.
We talked about the railway building? or-
Yeah.
It's got the women.
Yeah, I think women's exhibit or something. Yeah.
Look, I want to be careful not to put too much of a view in, but I mean, I think what I personally learned
It's not a
through,
historical building, so.
No, we can.
it's not a,
It is, but it's not
a listed building.
Yeah.
It's not a listed building.
Because I don't want to be putting bloody.
No,
I think if you
Like,
half did the
backwards.
job, we'd be back here in 5-10 years because something else had rusted through or something. You know, just do a
Yeah.
proper good job, write it off for 30-50 years.
the for me, the lesson learned through the office scenario was that, and I had lots of conversation with lots of people, was that, and had some very bluntly say, look, we know it's what on paper what we should have done, but just making that emotional decision to say goodbye to it is just not possible. So therefore, you're going to have to just let it come around us. And so I think any of these buildings, so if it's Pinaroo, they'll have the emotional attachment to those buildings. If it's Lameroo, they'll have theirs. If it's Geranium, they'll have theirs. And there'll be a bit of crossover, but you can't underestimate that attachment to those things. And so then it's about saying, well, how do you fund and what do you fund? So how well do you keep it? What's the service level for that building become? So, if it's a leaking roof, does it get patched until, and that's where not necessarily this chamber, but future chambers are going to have to make some really tough decisions about what is the service level for these things, because we can't keep just rebuilding everything to the same status it was. It's going to be, some will be repairs only. And I guess Lameroo Hall would be a classic example. You can't keep throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars at it if it's not going to get used that much.
Yeah, but also, Ron, you don't drive past it and see roots in the gutters.
No.
Or look on the ground to see that the root, because the floor's dissolved. Oh, I'll look up and now my root's wrecked.
Yeah.
It's called maintenance.
Yes.
Technically, if depreciation was spent how it was meant to be spent from the very start, that building should hopefully be usable
Technically, yeah,
its whole
absolutely.
life and
Absolutely,
new its
yeah.
whole life.
That is the point of it. Yeah.
And that's what I was saying before, like it is important that all that money is spent.
Yeah, I was just trying to find the section in the.
I guess that's what these guys over there are saying. Like, let's replace the roof now, because if it does leak or it blows off or whatever, then we've got to replace all the framing and all the stuff with inside of the floor and all that. Like, yeah.
And I think in their budget allocation, so when it comes to buildings, is this one got its full allocation, or has that been, so there's 470 gone into building programs, but that includes stormwater. So community buildings has got 155. So is there a way easily of finding out what is the depreciation?
Yeah, there is.
On community buildings?
Yeah, and on the asset management plan now, someone's going to quote me on it, but I think it's about 250 grand a year.
Because the answer partly is that if we're spending the right amounts in the right places, then things like this roof and other things like it can be put up to say, well, here's our, because I think we're talking about wanting to have a 5 and 10 year infrastructure plan. And so that should be the buildings as well, to say, look, that roof comes up in year 3 and that comes up in year 4 and that comes up in year 5, and whatever it is, rather than try and find, because the only way to find more money for that now is either to increase the rates or decrease something else.
That's right.
Because whilst we're under allocating depreciation, we haven't underfunded it with a 5% increase, which is why I'm making my suggestion. So, you might say, well, look, the counter argument could be when it comes to the meeting, look, I don't think we need to allocate money to clay roads. I'd rather see 5% additionally or 4% be allocated to more building works for 10 years. That's a counter position. Or Jason might say, I can find another $100,000 of savings and we can do the roof.
I mean, yours is a lot more diplomatic than what I was going to say.
Good.
No response to the savings.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's quite sure. That's what we've done in previous budget. We said, no, just go find some more money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back to buildings. That's what we've got in buildings at the moment. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I will double check. The problem with buildings isn't the ongoing per year. It's the backlog from what you were just talking about, Luke.
Yeah,
And at the moment, we've got,
and we haven't got the guys to fix it.
yes, yeah. So we have to be a bit strategic about the 65 grand, but we've got priority building renewal. So that's giving Shiloh some money to go and do the big issues, and we'll come back and talk to you
So
about
just a question.
talk to you about them first.
Like, say Ben's guys have a rainy day,
Yeah.
they can't go and pick up a hammer and nail or something like that, or a screw gun and go and fix something on the building? Or is that just not their job?
Oh, there'd be
Oh, it'd be for the union.
Haven't we
It's
just
not their job, wouldn't it?
two maintenance?
PD issue.
So full complement of staff now, which we haven't had for 6 months at the start of this
No.
financial year.
Yeah.
How difference between contractors versus us, we can allocate those to wherever we want. And we've had an example recently in the last week or so. Let's put resources in this location, not that location. That happens. Some of the work we can do with buildings, some of the stuff we probably shouldn't be doing. Like getting on 2-story buildings with ladders, etc. if we don't have the right equipment. But again, it's, how can I say it politely? I look up the roads and infrastructure and other infrastructure. That's within my care and control. We do that. Shiloh needs to make sure he looks after the building stuff. And if he calls on us to do it, if we can do it, let's do it. If it's a contract to do it, then we need to manage that. So if we can get up on the whole building and pull the weeds out, then that's fine. If my guys say we don't have the right equipment to do that, we don't have fall protection, we need to bring someone in to do that. If that's in lieu of one of my guys, that's a conversation we have next time we get a vacancy to say, we don't need that person to do this, we need that person to do something else.
Just say,
There is resources in there.
just next time say it's not your problem.
It's our problem because it's council's problem.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's a matter of how can we get our guys to do what they do? And we're hearing that roads is important to us. We're doing that. How do we then bring other resource in to get the town maintenance stuff done? And the easy stuff, that's what my guys been working on at the moment. The harder stuff, buildings and other bits and pieces, that's where we'll trend into over the next 12 months, subject to there being a works program and tell us what we need to do.
Did Shiloh put in for a worker this year?
No,
Didn't give him the option to.
I rang him and asked him to put one in.
Yep.
however, IT, SnapSense Solve is going to do that as well. That's picking where we need to do those jobs and allocate them. Shiloh can then go through and prioritise those, same as what I do for the roads and infrastructure. We then work out how we deliver them.
Some of the things that, listening, I'm hearing what you're saying, Ben, but I mean, the reality is that, you know, working at heights ticket, climbing up a ladder to the roof, you know, to the gutter on any of these buildings, we haven't got 3-story buildings. Like, that's not a big thing. Like the electricians and that go out, they're not hiring cherry pickers to do that gutter. They're bringing up a 2-story ladder with a hook on it for the gutter and the safety hook on it. They're working at heights ticket, you know, probably screwing in a bloody a catch-all. You know, maybe even you do a one-time project to put a catch line along there so that you can actually hook on it when you're cleaning. I'm not saying it's in your purview, but I mean, we were told not that long ago that project had been done, was contracted and they'd been and done it, and the gutter's still got gear in it and it's been in there our whole time. So that shouldn't be a SnapSense solve. That should be a maintenance issue that is just done. You know, the gutters are cleaned once every however many years you determine it is right for that situation.
Bring a contractor again to come in once every.
And they block up pretty quick with those
They are,
trees that
yeah.
are around there. Like they would block up, you know, quite significantly. So anyway, we've digressed.
Still
Yeah.
like chocolate tree thing.
But yes, we're either adding on and taking out the cash, or we're taking things out to add in that $100,000.
So if the CWA building gets the jobs done, is that under that building renewal? Was it?
It would be a little bit, yeah.
A little
It won't be. It probably
55 cents gone.
I'd like to add on, because the last 2 years we haven't spent anything on buildings.
Mhm.
And like Luke said, we've been underfunding that for years. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not as much as you think, because if you go back and have a look at what was spent on the institute and the hall, there's actually been many hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably approaching $1 million between the
I would
two.
say, in my honest opinion, there's been stupid shit that's been done,
Yes,
like a kitchen.
yeah.
instead of.
Whether it's gone into the right place,
Yeah,
right
that-
part of the building,
that's
I
my
think is a
problem.
different. Absolutely.
Is
No, I agree.
I think things have been done because it's easier to do that problem than it is to fix the other problems. Yeah, anyway,
More fun to do a kitchen too.
sorry,
It's more fun.
The only,
Yeah, yeah.
the only thing I would still say though, and,
never gets used.
I mean, we have BRs, so we can do a business review, but I'm not,
Right.
well, I don't want to discount what Campbell's saying, but also, because I think he's valid in what he's saying. But Jason has said when, he's going to chew up this report and bring it to us. And I guess my concern is until we know what that report says.
Yeah.
It's how do we know? That's what we were hanging our hat on to say, even with CWA, like my question was about what does it need? Not sure I really got the answer I was looking for in there, but I'm not saying, I'm not going to say spend the money until we get the report to say, well, what are the rest of the things? Because there'll be a priority list. And then
No, you're right. It's taking so long.
It is.
Which I'm not having to go at you for, but
It's
you can't just then look like, hey,
No.
It's been 12 months.
sometimes you just got to make a decision,
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that on roads, but then you get a whole bunch of sooks that complain. They got no idea anyway. Didn't you?
Like,
We can,
I printed off, which I can't show the thing because it was in conference all the way back then. I don't think it's ever been bought out, but I printed off the thing I saw in my very first meeting, 23rd of November, 2022, about the Lameroo Chamber Historic Building, which is the CWA, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I reckon needed to be spent on that building. And I've been trying to base my judgment on a report that I've then since been waiting for the actual report ever since. And we're basically end of term, we're finally going to get something. But the question didn't actually answer the thing about, are you going to fall through a hole in the floor? So, which is really the only safety issue that currently probably exists. So I get what you're saying, Campbell, and it's the same about your housing motion that's on there about, what is the thing to do with that? Because that's sitting there as well. So Campbell's saying that he'd like to see the
we can talk about that.
cost increase. Yeah, no, but just that's the point now is we're not making a decision.
No.
Just you're putting your thoughts out there, which is good.
so that leaves,
Trevor's put his out there, which
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
Chris has just texted me he's on his way from home. So he had to come back from Adelaide. He had some issues.
And you want done in there?
so then the thing to speak about then, the final one is the rates you've got there. So again, if we're going by 9.6%.
Well, no, that's I don't want to
Yeah.
say
No.
that's what I'll be proposing.
As an
Either
example.
one, and mine is about not just for this 1 year, but it's for the 10-year long-term financial plan that we have one. So I would write it as CPI.
So every year the rates
So,
go up,
see-
have to go up this much.
So it would be CPI plus 1% for cash renewal over 10 years, so that by the end of 10 years, we should have about $500,000 in there, and 4% for clay roads upgrades. Or, it'd have to say clay road upgrades. That's not to say it's going to go for the whole 10 years, but that's what the 10-year plan would say.
Yeah.
So that's my view. So if CPI is only 2%, then you're looking at 6%. If CPI is 5.6%, well, then it's 10.6%. Like it just varies based on CPI. Because the problem with CPI is even this one is based on 4.6 CPI. Well, our costs have gone up a lot more than 4.6%.
So you've done it better than me, like you worked out. I just said just chuck it up by 10%, but anyway.
I started that and then I thought, well, let's do a number that actually works in the budget for 10 years.
10% round.
Well, hopefully CPI does go back at some point.
But we can't, look what happens when you don't up the rates at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, the proposal in here is that basically you have no more rates to spend, it's all in CPI. Although interestingly, there are a lot of savings in here in employment costs, childcare costs and so on. So it's like, I guess part of me wants to know, are they real savings? And if they are, why aren't they on the thermometer for the $1 million worth of savings that you're trying to achieve? Because that's offsetting a rate increase, which is what we should be telling people. So if they're, if these things are genuine and we are, saving those kinds of sums of money, I think that's actually a really good story that should be getting spoken about. Because you have $500,000 or $600,000 less in 613K down in childcare from last year. 804 down from. Got too many books.
That's because we're closed today, though.
Yeah, that's right, that's the day.
Sorry,
That's because we're closed today. Though.
not from 1.57 million to 804 a day.
Yeah, what else you do?
This is the same box from
That's a big chunk.
last
I
year to
want
this year. So the box from last year to this year goes rates 5.032 up to 5.305. This is the printed book from
Yep.
last year. Rates other 1.152 to 1.237. User charges 150 to 157. Childcare 1.517 to 804,000. Statutory charges 62 to 60, so gone down. Investment income 10,000, which is interesting because in BR3 we're actually reporting a $10,000 or $20,000 gain in that, so we've got a lot more. Grants 2.855, grants this year 3.4, so 545 up. So I'm wondering whether part of childcare has come over from childcare to grants, maybe.
Yeah, because childcare through all of ours is 1.343.
I'm sorry, all these are yours too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I didn't create these.
Yeah,
I'm just reading them,
and this is
as are the public.
this is
Yeah. Other revenue 107 to 118 and reimbursements from 4 to 10, and reimbursements went up as well. Interestingly, when you look at it in the previous year, this was a note from Simone. She said, whenever you're comparing these, compare them over at least 3 or 4 years. So I had old AI trying to help me out, but it completely screwed it up.
You don't trust.
Yeah. So anyway,
Well, I told you to look it up yourself.
no, it supposedly made a sheet, but somehow it didn't do it right. So yeah, I'm interested to know, are they, because even with that, that's still a huge saving. If we're 561,613. So yeah, I'm interested to know those.
But that saving, does that mean we get to have that stuff money sitting somewhere in an account to spend somewhere else, or is that just being spent?
Well, employee costs have also gone down, so employment.
You know what I mean? Like, if we haven't spent that money, shouldn't that be sitting?
I think it's offsetting. I think that's why we only need such a small increase.
the corresponding the corresponding decrease in expenses is come from a decrease in revenue as well. And they zero out because it's childcare. And that's made sure that that's what's happened in Darcy.
Well, that's in the one, that's 300 and something thousand, not 600 or 800. So in the 0.5, which I think is for childcare, it says it's a net sum gain.
Yeah.
Because it's 343 in and 343 out, which is in here.
Yeah.
Childcare revenue.
But these change a bit more than that. And I guess then you go to employee cost council, last year 2.7, this year 2.679. So if we're a net is going to cost us less money to employ our people this year, including EBAs and growth, then I assume that means we've got a net reduction in employment costs, because that's what this is saying. So if that's the case, is that real, and is that being offset in here? Because again, I think if that's true and we're operating the business with lesser people or lesser employment costs, including EB arrangements next year, that's a big thing to be promoting, that you've reduced operating costs, employee costs by, what's that, probably $300,000, I'd say. If you put 4.5 on 2.7 million.
Yeah. Have we got 2 or 3 less staff?
Yeah, there's a bit less.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of less in cogs and appointed with.
Yeah.
Well, so the COG is already accounted for on the other side,
Yeah, we've still got.
because you've got employee childcare underneath.
Carla.
And that's gone from 1.3 down to 1.114. Now that would explain your 4 days and your whatever, but above the line in normal employment costs, you're also projecting a decrease, including EB arrangements, which would be increases. So again, I'm sort of saying, I'm not saying that's a bad thing if that's real, and I'm saying if to make sure it is. Happy for anyone to hit me over the head and say yes, it is. Then that's something we should be crowing about, because that's part of your $1 million of savings that we said to ratepayers, hey, if we can find money inside, it's less rates we've got to charge. And to me, reading this, there's quite a bit of savings that have been found, or the budget's wrong, one of the two. And if it's been found, well, why the hell aren't you telling people about it? Because that's good news.
Every budget I've been telling you, look how good I am.
No, but
Look how good we are.
I said, let's create the thermometer so you can actually, no, but the thermometer so you can actually say we've saved $250,000.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because that's a direct, we don't need to raise rates as much because of that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, to me, that's a good story. Tell the story. Depreciation obviously up 1.091 million. Because interestingly, in this part, you put depreciation of 4.792, but in the budget itself, it's at 4.199 we're spending. So again, we're not clear about that to people, that we're not spending the or allocating 4.792. We're not asking you for another $500,000. And we should tell that story too. Certainly I'm going to try to, once I understand it myself. And materials and contracts have gone down as well, which I really don't understand. From 2.785 last year to 2.424 this year. So I don't understand, if your depreciation's going up and you're going to do more projects and do more things, how can your materials and contractors and other expenses go down by that amount? That's a fair bit of money. That's $361,000.
Yeah.
Which to me seems quite big.
Yeah.
It's getting close to that $1 million.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Well, as Paulina said, it's always looks long. Well, because I'm looking at that and going, like Campbell said at the last thing when you first presented, if I can rest my laurels on this, I think this is great. I think we should put the rates up further to fund some of those other things. This is a good story to tell, but I'm nervous about how many of these things have gone down without a proper explanation of why they've gone down and where it's at. You know, if our employee costs are that much lower, that's not a bit of one person. That's because that's going from 2.755 to 2.679. So that's about 76K plus your EB increases, because normally 2.755 would go up by X amount. So I'm thinking that's like at least 100 grand. Now that's on average, that's probably a worker in admin, I would imagine, with on costs around about-ish. It's not a bit of one. So yeah, it's not childcare, because childcare is reported separately. So I've got some, I think we're going to number 6. Well, I don't know how I can pass that out to go out, because I don't understand it.
So you're pretty confident that they...
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been through 100, 200 times I've been through.
So where's the decrease then?
Well, the decrease comes back to allocation of funds. Yeah, it comes back to the stuff that we don't want to mention.
Above and below the line.
It comes back to full cost attribution, and it comes back to full cost attribution.
But surely when you're doing it here, it's still an employee cost. No,
this is all. That's the operating statement right there.
Council's allocation of funds. That's all it says.
Yeah.
And total budget 11.164.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're saying you attributed some of our employee costs to capital projects. That's why it's not upgraded the operating.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
but then we're under allocating our capital projects as well. Because we're supposed to be doing 4.7, we're doing 4.2.
We are, yeah.
So double.
Plus carry, yeah. Yep.
I don't know if you understand how much that sends my brain spinning like this. And that's why I sit at home going, think I understand? Yeah, I understand. I mean, I understand.
No, I just see that and go, why isn't there that much amount of money sitting in account? Because we obviously haven't spent it.
That's why, if we did decide to do something like a new roof over there, it wouldn't change the 62,000 deficit, because we're underspending on our depreciation, which is the money sitting.
No, we're under allocating.
Under allocate, yeah, sorry.
So we're not raising that revenue. So if we were,
we're still asking that. The 300,000, whatever, 350 that's going into the bank, we're still charging rates for that.
No, the 350 that's going into the bank, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be going in because we haven't got, well, actually explain to us why that's going into the bank. Well, because I don't see any sealed works allocated. So I'm curious about that. So what Campbell's saying is, with the way that the numbers are working, we're ending up with money we'll say cash. I'm not sure it's cash in the bank really, but
But I mean,
That one is. So the one that's on the screen is.
But he's saying like previously when we talked about employment,
yes, but
a lot of the employment was allocated to operating costs, whereas they were doing capital works. So
Yeah.
now he's allocating that to the actual where it's going.
you know,
That one.
I do get that bit,
Yeah.
yeah. But that means those people are employed. So for instance, if you end up with $1.7 million of carryover WIP projects, you should have, the WIP report's got to have how much of the operating, their employment expense has been
True.
attached to that, because you should be carrying over that cost. So it gets into, I think I've heard someone use the phrase funny money.
It sits at the project level.
This means.
okay, so what you're saying is
Trust us.
it's just mythical money that's not actually money.
No, not at all. Not.
Okay, so where is it? What
Not
account
at
is
all.
Sydney? Which ANZ account or which?
Yeah,
where it-
this here will be in our, it'll be in later on, what do we call it, the at call or what is it?
That call on 20.
Yeah, that there. So what I'm saying, what this says and what's on the screen here. So once we've done operating expenses, once we've done cash operating expenses, once we've paid cash for our projects, at the end of the year, all things being equal, we should have an extra $330,000 in your bank in the ANZ cash it.
And if you didn't pay back the 192,000, you'd have more.
And if we didn't
Well, you
pay
have to
back the
pay that
192,
You have to-
Okay, so with that extra
We've been
money,
paying
then so we can do that
every year. It's interest
We
and
can,
principal. I don't
yes.
put interest in.
Or
without having to put up the rates.
that's right. Yeah, and then that'll go down to 220 will be the extra cash.
Right, so you can do that route then.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's right. It was, I wasn't saying no. I was just saying, it's either take something out or cash goes down.
So the childcare, the
Well,
money you saved on childcare,
Childcare's different.
how is it different? It's still rates.
No.
It's running as a business unit. So what comes in and what goes out, Darcy and Tony run that budget really tight. So what's come in and what's gone out is they get that very, very close. So they've had to reduce income based on going to 4 days. And then in reducing income, they've also been able to reduce their expenses by pretty well the same amount. So it's actually zeros of what's happened.
It'd almost be better not to have that in the budget, wouldn't it?
Yes, but if you haven't spent that money, when you're meant to spend that money, shouldn't that be sitting in the childcare account?
No, so I guess.
Because whatever dollar wasn't spent also wasn't received.
Oh, okay.
Right,
So we didn't receive the income
So I guess.
and therefore expenses were reduced as well.
yeah, but that's not all of it is for,
Yeah, they've got it down.
That's in BR, that's in business,
They've got it
our
down
budget
pretty
review
close.
3.
Yeah.
The council's still paying for the childcare depreciation, aren't we? Because the council owns the buildings, don't they?
No, we get a sponsor fee now.
Do we?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's a business unit and there's some, I'm going to bring an asset accounting policy to you as well.
Okay.
That'll explain that better.
So we don't officially own those buildings, or we do?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it cost us $2 million or whatever, like that or something.
So that would leave, so your explanation, and by the way, Simone has said, and to their credit, the way that they're doing this, allocating I won't say all the stuff, but the employment costs is the right way to do it. And she actually was trying to get Mid Murray to do the same thing. She actually believes that's a good thing. What it's doing for me though, is it's saying, I can't possibly know what's real savings and what's not. So I guess I would like,
Support a different.
I don't want that because that doesn't help.
That's the same thing there.
No, but that doesn't even have last year. So how would I know? What I want to know is,
Next year you can compare it.
what, so of all the savings, like you go into BR3 and it lists off these savings of 20 grand here and 80 grand there and 30 grand there and whatever. If we've got real savings, we should be understanding what they are, total of $150,000 of savings, and then what do you do with them? So that it's all about choices. Do you put those savings in another project, do a roof or whatever? Do you put into cash or do you, lower your rates next year? They've got to be choices that somebody can make.
I mean, I'm going to probably be the devil here, but we don't really have a choice in lowering rates
No, I don't believe so either.
at all.
No, that's right.
I'm sorry, but we don't.
I,
As much as what everyone would like to,
yeah,
we don't.
I think the CPI plus the 1% cash is a good idea. I think you're adding in 4% each year for clay-based roads. I think needs to be. I think that's a chat at this time of the year each year. I don't think it's a.
Doesn't help a long-term financial plan.
But it's.
I guess with the clay-based roads policy, that's a policy that if someone wants their road upgraded, or we think maybe there is one that should, we go through that policy and it says, yeah, let's do that road. It's not saying we should be upgrading roads all the time. It's a case-by-case thing.
That's what I was.
Because if we're just going to upgrade a new road every year, that's just going to increase our depreciation, increase our work.
Should, as I said,
and there might not be any roads that are worthy. There might be some that are, and they should be assessed and done. But yeah, I think budgeting for that, unless we actually have one,
The problem is a lot of
probably
them
isn't right.
are needed to be upgraded to be driven on by farmers because trucks are getting bogged.
And I'm not saying don't do a road, but
yeah,
let some come through this policy, which we've now got there, like Darren Button can put in his road and whoever else wants a road. And then they could be assessed properly and then brought to the chamber, and then maybe next year's budget, which it looks like we might need to be here for now. Yeah, it can be assessed then. But I don't think we should be upgrading at 4% now when we don't really have a thing to do, you know.
I think if we
that's a view. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, roads are always going to be the biggest problem. I mean, what we're currently doing is experimental, I guess. I mean, certainly I noticed Trowbridge Road got graded today, but I mean, the scarifying certainly needs to have some pretty serious grading done on them. It's not lasting very long before it needs to have quite a significant load on it. This, the width of the road and the reels and that, I know Ben's answered it and that, but gee whiz, it's, you're going, the drop off now on some of those roads, I don't know how. You're not going to be able to pull a tractor over with an implement on it because it's going to rip the living shit out of the road because the drop off is so great. So I think there is going to be more need for money on roads as it is, and there's a need to keep going with buildings. So
I mean, it's like that there was a concept on Facebook that it's not staff's fault. Beg to differ.
Different thing, but I got a compliment on the road yesterday. It's very, very rare. Nichols Road, they said, with all the weather and all the rain and that, it's held up remarkably well.
It should have.
it should have.
Twice in 3 years.
Birthday here 8 months ago, that was the most terrible reshoot road.
Yeah,
So we must have worked our magic. So
it pretty much never happens. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I even rang up Ben a compliment on the guys actually saw the graders up here, which is good. Yeah.
It was a clay-based road as well.
It was a clay-based road, and it's like, everyone who says that we shouldn't spend money on a clay-based road, go live on one. You'll change your mind pretty quick.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't spend money on it, but they should come through the policy where we can spend money on assessing.
We could put that 4% in, it still won't be enough.
Well, it's about to say my position in putting that in, and we'll talk about it later in the meeting, but that was that if the money's, you need to allocate it for it to be there, because the long-term financial plan had nothing for CWMS as an example, and every budget we were pulling money out and from left, right and centre to try and do pumps and do this because there was nothing in the long-term financial plan. I think there was 30 grand a year in there. I think that's still probably the case. So if you've got it in there, it doesn't mean if you don't have any projects that need it, you can then, the elected body at the time can make a decision, carry it over, put it into cash, pay off debt, or transfer it into another project, do a roof or do something because it's capital.
I think that's like what Simone said. You shouldn't be charging people now for projects that.
No, but we absolutely. There'll be a list. How many have you already got?
There's a few.
And there are ones that we stopped doing that we could go straight back and finish the bit that we said we were going to do because we stopped early. I mean, there are already plenty of roads that are definable cases for that work to be done. Whether there's more after that cycle, that would be an interesting thing.
My view is a little bit different on council. To me, council is business and it should run in, it should have money in the account. And it shouldn't just be spending that amount of rates every year because we just can't, obviously we can't run on that. Because we're behind.
if you put another clay-based road in, you're going to add an extra 200 something thousand to depreciation, which means our deficit will get.
It depends on, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It depends on how big I mean, if your 4% is what, $200,000, 210, something like that, that's going to get you clay base 3 Ks,
3 Ks.
Maybe 4.
maybe 4.
Use maintenance to reshape it. Like
Yeah.
we're doing.
Yeah.
That'll then be, depends on what the value proposition and which one of those things is as to how much. It certainly won't add $200,000. It doesn't directly add it dollar for dollar into depreciation. It'd probably be 20 years or something like that. So I imagine
Could be more even.
30, whatever the thing is. So it'll be, let's say a 30th of whatever that spend is will come in each
I
year.
mean,
But you're
most of
100% right.
roads.
It's going to raise, and that's an argument. But it's not just.
Most of the roads needs a couple of Ks.
Yeah. And some of them will be that. It'll be, well, I can think of roads where it would be, well, you do that first bit and then block the bloody thing off so that the access point is right, but it's no longer a thoroughfare. So they've got the access, but again, it's business cases and it's whatever. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But what's happened previously in Chambers, and again, we're trying to make this bulletproof against either us not being here or these guys not being here. Neville sat in these chambers. You pull a road out. So you want to do that one. People's argument comes through. They don't want to raise the rates. So they drop a road out and don't do someone's road that was due. And guess what? It never goes back in.
To be fair, we could all not come in next year and we just get a bunch of greenies come in and just say, we're just going to spend money on
Oh, absolutely.
new shiny shit
Absolutely.
and just up everything and just rack
Yep.
everything. Just,
You
cut
can
these
do-
ribbons and these guys will be stuck doing it.
We can, we
could sell the houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I mean, you're 100% right. You can only do the best job you can do while you're there.
right.
Trevor will be here for the next 20 years, so he'll be the common thread. And but you're 100% right, and that's, if you remember rightly, when we went through, I think when we went through the office scenario, and I was like, what would you spend the money on? And originally my thought was, well, you'd lower debt and you'd put it into that. And then my first thought to myself was, yeah, but hang on, then the next chamber could come in and go, well, this is pretty good. We don't owe much money. Let's go borrow a bunch of money and build something new.
Yeah.
Depreciation goes through the roof and there's another piece of infrastructure you don't use. And meanwhile, everything else falls apart.
This is what I don't get, this disclosure where last 10 years was like mostly sustainable. In our term, not. And we've been trying to make it sustainable.
Potentially.
So where's the picture in that? Like,
Yeah.
we're the negative part of the system, obviously.
Yeah, because we didn't kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
Well,
No, 'cause part of it's because we didn't have the reports and everything
Mm.
as well. We didn't have the long-term financial plans done. We didn't have the
that's the most
asset
sustainable.
and condition reports done.
Whose fault was that?
And we've shown that we are,
Because we did ask for it, but no.
we've shown through this process that we are mostly sustainable. Now, can we do things better? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do we just go and rest on our laurels and then just think everything's fine? Okie dory, let's do nothing now? No, not at all. And that's what I was trying to say in my spiel before, that kicking us up the bum and making sure that finance is done right hasn't been lost, and it's something you should be proud of over your term.
Going back into the budget, it's worth going to statement of comprehensive income, asking why user charge dropped from 1.262 to 961. I know what I'm going to hear. Hit me.
Shocking.
Yeah. Well, that was the case, I know, because they've been relocated somewhere else.
Has it
Or was
been?
that the day? Guess 1.2 one day. Yeah, I'll buy that. And that's where your wages and salaries, total wages, total salaries, down 4069 to 3793. Is that still all up below the line? Or is that a real saving?
That is. No, this one.
Real saving,
No,
above and below the line.
Yeah.
So even here, it's still, so where does it show up in here then?
cash flow statement is what I'm showing, is what I've been showing you.
But in here, so, oh, Jesus. I'll just die never accepting this. No, that's different again.
Yeah.
This is 3.793. If you add those two together, that's 4. 069. They don't add up to that. Yeah. I hate it when you say yeah, because it's like, I'm not sure what you're acknowledging. Yep, it doesn't add up, or yep, it's right, or yeah. Because I look at that and I go, well, surely at this point, this must be a material saving, but it's not there either. So materials contracts and other expenses dropping $500,000. Is that real?
Out of maintenance.
Well, statement of comprehensive income shows expenses, forecast budget 25/6, 2.945 and 26/7, 2.424. That seems like a big chunk.
My opinion would be, we've taken money out of maintenance and capitalised it. So stormwater pump, for example, instead of us doing under maintenance, we've allocated money in capital to do it.
Oh, yeah. So that's materials contracts and other expenses.
Some of those, yeah.
Where we can capitalise it, we can.
So that's why we capitalise a pool cleaner.
That's equipment, yes. Worth
more than $5,000.
Right, so there's no savings there either. So we made savings.
In the past, that would have been going over on maintenance. In my opinion, would have been going over on maintenance. And we were booked it to a maintenance account.
Yeah.
And then had a discussion to say, can we capitalise it? Now what we see in this budget is we've allocated money in the capital to fund that, and it comes straight out of capital, not out of maintenance.
So if that's the case, materials contracts and other expenses, what is the 2.4 million then? Because that sounds like a lot of money. And if it's not capital, what the hell is it? That's a lot of money. It's a quarter of our budget. Matter of fact, it's more than a quarter if you take out childcare.
Yeah, I've got. What was it?
Materials, contracts and other expenses.
That'd be the rubble coating.
No, well, that's capitalised.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be.
Oh, that's
The roads, they're capitalised.
yeah, insurance,
All right, so we're down to 2 million.
all of that. But all of that sort of.
What just saying? Oh,
and
Can we get a
everyone
list of actually?
what just seems like if understanding that and
yeah,
accepting that, it seems like a lot.
Yeah, I've been through all of it with you, what it includes and what it doesn't, and yeah.
I just still don't understand all that. Like, to me, it's either a saving or it's not.
Yeah.
It's not above the line, below the line, or a saving.
But yeah,
Because that's what you've got. You've got, it's this mythical above the line, below the line, or you've got this, it's a saving.
Yeah.
Because that's what it seems to me. Unicorn, it's nowhere.
Yeah.
This is actually in the bank.
so yeah, okay.
Am I wrong?
That's why I always present this one, which is cash in, cash out. 330 at the end.
Yeah, without seeing what there was on the other year, it's impossible to know what that is. But so what net savings have we actually achieved, or have you achieved? And are there net savings from last year to this year that you're taking into this budget as
Just
a benefit?
This'll, if it's net or gross, we'll just see what it is. See whether you're a Labor or a Liberal person.
We've had
Because
Yeah, you
if
wanna-
Labor didn't know the difference.
you want to hear a really wanky accounting answer? I'll give you one, and then I'll give you the real one.
Yeah.
So you've had a real saving of 2%,
Right.
1.5%.
Yeah, that
Which means-
governmental.
Yeah. So that's the wanky answer. That means that inflation's 4.6% and our expenses have gone up by 3%. So in real terms, we've had a 1.6% saving.
Yeah. So what are the net real savings, please?
Yeah, so we've had a 3% increase.
So if you look at our total budget of last year of 10 point whatever million dollars.
Increase.
Increase in.
If you were to put
Increase in expense.
But you guys pay me to understand all of this sort of stuff and make sure that it's.
Well, no, actually, we pay the finance people to do that. You're the
I'm a finance
the,
person as well. There's any CEO half his soul that needs to know the
right.
finance inside out.
So from a net, it's your money, it's your business point of view. In the thermometer, savings you can take to the bank. What have we managed outside of all gobbledygook? Like what is costing less this year than it did last year, or holding station? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm trying to understand what what can we say as a net saving? Because it's still, with the way you're doing it, I look at the bottom line and say, well, we're supposed to be doing, $1 million worth of extra work and only asking for a 5% rate increase. So there's got to be some savings from somewhere, because moving it from one account to another doesn't achieve that. You still need the money. We still got to get it from somewhere. And we only get it from grants or from rates or from user fees. That's it. It's the only places we get money. So if we don't need as much money, it should be a saving. Or we're doing less work.
It's all the great.
You knew this was coming. It's going, how can I explain this differently when you don't understand already?
It's above the
Your
line,
words,
below the
not
line.
mine. Percentage change here.
But just don't look at that and just
No,
say,
no.
like in your save, so if we go to BR3, right, in BR3, you've got a list of,
But I can tell you that all the savings we've got.
yeah. No, mate.
Page 77.
But the costs have gone up.
But I've been open about the savings are actually the allocation of funds to capital and not.
Yeah, so I get that. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is,
But
to
that's,
me, that's not real. That's just shifty. So,
it's not shifty.
no, shifty.
Just moving.
Yeah,
Just moving money.
stuff.
yeah.
So that's fine.
Or really smart.
Okay, so I'm happy to say you're really smart.
Yeah, there you go.
But where's our saving? Like, aside from that, so it cost us, because you'll see in here, things where, governance is down, this is down, that's down in BR3, I think it is.
Yeah.
So
Page
is that real or is that shifting?
Page 71.
And like I say, the wages one doesn't matter which way we cut it. We can't seem to rely on that being a saving. So is there a saving in wages? If it's a bit of a person, like what's the bit? Are we costing 50 grand less in wages this year? So again, I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm saying it should be a positive.
What was
This was to do with vacancies.
yeah, so what did we save?
39,000.
Yeah.
No, so that's for this year, but I'm saying
Budget.
for budget year, next year. So we're back up to full complement, so it's going to cost us the full weight. Is that what we're saying? We haven't saved anything, because you were saying we're not going to need as much in records management and So
That hasn't been realised yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we had any realised net savings, where it's costing us less to do the same thing this year as it was last year.
What's the number?
That's all I'm not trying to put you on the spot or be a smart ass. It's just, is there anything we can run up the flagpole and say, this is what council administration's contributed to the cause?
I don't know how to answer.
Right.
Well, the expenses have gone up 3%, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't actually saved anything.
So, how before you had that 300 and something thousand dollars up there? That's literally sitting in the bank. We can spend that on it. It will be.
Yeah, it's 30th of June next year. That's what we're forecasting.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can put that on something.
Yeah.
Or have it as a surplus, because we know that there's going to be, it's just going to turn to shit like it always does. Well, there's always something that stuffs up. I mean, like Target, well, I'm telling you that,
That swims renewal up there, should that go to the loan that the swims?
Their own account sort of thing.
Yeah, because that's supposed to pay for itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you do? Is that?
Yeah,
done
so
like
that's
yeah.
in there.
That reconciliation was bought
Yeah.
maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought was happening, but
So it's way in the negative,
still
but it
costs.
still goes there every year.
but it should.
There's no separate account. It just,
No.
behind the scenes, it gets reconciled, but it's not a separate bank account, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Well, they're supposed to pay. their-
whereas we would probably have a separate bank account in your own
They're
business.
paying their way.
Yeah, a bit like child kitchen, I think, so.
So as Campbell said back when we did that, like there'll be years prior to all the work being done where that was probably in the positive, but no one knows. Then all the work was done, so it's gone massively into the negative for like X amount of years, whatever it was, 15 years, 17 years, whatever it was.
You can't argue either way because we don't.
No.
Yeah.
I understand,
Yeah.
but what happens is then, the data was there for the since, and it said, it would reach break even point at X time.
30 years.
And so what they do now is, what I believe they do is when they're costing it is to make sure that, you know, that's not making it any worse. Would that be right?
Correct.
So, okay, yeah.
So the current, in the fees and charges, the CWMS has gone up slightly, but it's not significant because we've got enough money in there to run our system. We've got enough money to do our capital projects this year and enough money to pay the bills of previous years to keep up to that.
Yeah, and pay the interest on the loan.
Correct. Yes, that's what I mean. Pay the previous years.
Because all the loan payments of CWS.
Right. Yeah, really, when you look at the actual loans that we have, are all to do with that, aren't they?
They started out, they were pools,
Pools won't actually
beautification.
budget.
And that's what those big, you know, that's what loans are for, is those big capital projects where the life of the project's going to be far outside, exceed the life of the loan. What you don't want to be borrowing money for is for stuff that's gone in 2 years.
Yes, but that's what happens when you get people who go on council who have any past business experience.
Yeah.
That's my problem with people going for council. If you don't have any business experience, then you shouldn't be on council for anyone.
No, see, it's staying on for 20 years too.
No. Yeah, no, because I'll end up throttling someone.
So what I can say about the budget is,
Some of it's above the line, some of it's below the line.
yeah, but more than that, as a helicopter view, we're raising rates. Well, we're proposing to raise it by 5%, right? And in that 5%, we are able to pay all of our bills. We're also looking at 42.5 Ks of road resheeting. We've got $200,000 in buildings. We've got $500,000 in road reseals plus some carry forwards. We've got what's the other bit? We've got asset management plan, as per asset management plan for stormwater and for CWMS, so nothing's getting degraded there. All of that with a cost going through the roof.
What's your budget?
It's just with a slight operating deficit of $60,000. That's budget.
Should be 50 grand.
That's all good stories.
What are we end of June? We should have the 700,000 for Tarragona Well Road should be sitting there ready to go.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll be.
But you won't see that until August, I think,
Is that right?
as a carryover.
Yeah, said right.
Reconciled all the engineer accounts. Bring it
Yeah.
So by then, Colcomile will be finished.
Mm.
There should be money sitting in sealed works allocated to Turrigat Well, and there should be money sitting in sealed works allocated to Benaroo Main Street. Is it 600 a year
600,000,
and 700 there?
So page 227 of your agenda has Hill Road.
Yeah.
We've got a budget of 1.892 million.
Mm-hmm.
So
We saw that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah. Minus your 555 for Colcomile.
Yeah.
Minus your other bits.
So just, we've got,
Which is a lot of money.
if I can, I'll just give Chris a quick catch up of what's happened. So we had Simone Bailey, Mayor Murray come in, had her review this stuff to try and make sense of it for me, had a meeting with her this morning. In essence, the strategy and the process that's being used here to move things from above the line to below the line, in her opinion, is good. It's sound. What you just heard Jason say about the budget forecast, the points that have been raised. I've raised some, Campbell's raised some, and Trevor and Luke. And that is that I had concerns that we have depreciation of 4.7, we're only funding 4.2. So knowingly underfunding depreciation by $500,000 to me is a concern. Not even talking about it, just underfunding it. That was shared by Luke as well. I also am going to propose later on tonight that we have CPI budget, CPI plus 1% for cash recovery in the term of the long-term financial plan. So 1% per year, about 50 grand. We try and end up with $500,000 of cash above the line, cash in the bank. And I've also talked about a 4% annual allocation in the long-term financial plans for Clay Road upgrades. There's some counter view to that with Cambridge, which is that shouldn't be put in the forward estimates. It should just be dealt with as an application year on year. If someone's got a road to do.
My thing was the report came through, it didn't recommend any roads met, because the policy's there. If someone wants their clay road upgraded, they go through the policy, it meets the criteria, they bring it to council, say, yeah, let's do it. I think it said that there weren't any identified ones. So putting aside 4% every year to do that when it's not actually forecast to be there.
Well, they are identified, it's just people haven't done anything about them because there's
And
never
well-
been anything to do. I'll give you half a dozen of them right now.
Well, no, yeah, you could always do them, but the amount of money we're going to spend, the report that came to us said, you know.
That was just a policy though.
The upgrades are not renewals.
Yeah.
That's how it's
Yeah.
the technical thing.
So and we'll discuss that tonight in the meeting. Campbell put forward that he'd like to see the roof renewal done on the railway building at Pinaroo, because that's been ongoing for years and delayed. So that's for discussion as well. And Trevor was kind of like, why are we doing the pool shade at Lameroo, toddler's pool? Is it necessary? But there's a shade there they can sit by. That was put forward. And am I missing anything? That's kind of the catch up, I think. And then
I'd like Oyster Road to be done.
sorry, mate.
I'd like Oyster Road to be done.
Yeah. And so I've also said I'm keen to make sure that we get the carryovers of the works that aren't done that have been funded this year brought into next year at the first opportunity, because we're seeing in BR3 things brought in that should have been brought in the first one, to make sure that the sealed works are being carried over, because we have fears in the past of building up project funds and then they suddenly disappear. It's not there anymore. Also, a WIP report to come with business reviews, budget reviews. So you get the work in process report to say what is actually happening. That was corrected and said, well, it's already actually in there with the whatever it's called, CEO update.
Yeah, annual business plan projects is what.
Yeah.
That's for.
So just making sure that we're reading that properly, probably for me. And that we, depreciation, and said I'd personally like to see us have an allowance or a liability for allowance for non-payment of rates. It's happening every year. We're going into the budget with a wafer thin, well, actually it's a deficit, and saying, by the way, we're going to get this many rates when we damn well know we're probably not. So why not actually realise that in the budget and say, well, realistically, 62 is probably going to be 162. So at least we're dealing with facts, not estimations.
Because there's the interest component on them if we're using our loan account to fill that gap.
Well, today what we've been doing is just absorbing it, and that's probably why we end up not doing as many things, because in our term, we've always been not doing things, pulling them out, which we don't want to do anymore, which means you'd have to fund it.
Yeah.
If you don't get that.
That's right.
Right, is there an interest charge on unpaid rates? There is.
Yeah, we still got about that.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is.
But you only get it when they pay the rates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So how come it never gets carried over?
As a liability.
Yeah.
We've asked that previously.
Yeah.
It kind of just goes into the ether of our operation.
Yeah.
When it really should be sitting there as a outstanding liability.
With their name in big letters.
Yeah.
Council pay the, you know,
It's at
levy on
the end of the trade receivables that you mentioned before, is where it sits, yeah.
There'd be no one of those accounts that goes up and down and round about and you go, why is that so much more this time? So that's kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of the.
Yeah, I think that sounds like the process. Sorry, you weren't looking at me.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. No, look at everyone.
Yeah, no, when I was going through it, just understanding that we're paying off debt, yet we've still got a $60,000 deficit. Did we need to lift the rates by 0.1% or something, just to make sure we are breaking even?
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's this is step one of me going, hey, what do you reckon? And then if not, well then here's rough estimates at any increase at 5%, what it's going to do. If you did 6.5%, that'd cover the deficit.
So Simone had changed my thinking on that a little bit. Coming from business, I always, I want a surplus. I want to know there's some cover there if something goes wrong. Her way of looking at it, and she's also coming from a constituency that's mostly households, not businesses so much. She said, collecting in excess of what's needed and holding it in the bank when it's consumer funds, when you've got the LGFA there to support you if you need to borrow money, is so, don't go overboard, whereas John Comrie said you should be doing a 5% surplus until you have probably a couple $1 million in the bank and then stop, because you need that shock protection for when things go wrong. So she's probably brought me back closer, saying, okay, it doesn't need to be that much, but which is why I'm sort of saying like 1% a year for 10 years, you hopefully might end up with 500,000, 400,000 in the bank. That would be probably enough of a buffer to cover someone leaving, you know, to pay their entitlements, that sort of stuff. But that's for each person to decide for themselves.
It still gets spent though.
Oh, it'll, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that we haven't had is being able to rely on the budgets, because each BR has brought us down, although this one's going back up a little bit. But there's some pretty significant shifts in there too, because you don't want to fall into the trap of people over allocating for things as so that they know they're not going to go under. Then at the end of the year, they say, oh, I've got a mile, there's 80 grand come back. But the fact is you don't know efficiently, should there have been 180 come back? You know, we just spend money because we had it there.
We're gonna have
Pretty tight.
carryover road projects from this financial year. Are you still going to be able to do 42 next year with the carryover?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No.
We're up to about 42 kilometres at the moment in the report.
Yeah.
Plus we've done 100 k's of scarifying with our construction crew. So
Yeah.
I don't see any of that. I think our efficiencies are, we're going to get more improvements. What I foreshadow is in a year's time, then when we do back off some projects, maybe we should be more efficient to be able to get more stuff done. So in 12 months' time, dry grade, not a problem. In the next 12 months, just push us to what we can do and what we can train people up so get better results that we have been showing. What are we going to be in 12 months' time? We should be able to do at least 42 k's of bits and pieces, improve our system to say, where's the potholes, where's the issues we've got to do, go and fix them. If we've got money in the budget, there's 130 grand in there to do those 5 little repeats, patching.
Yeah.
So hopefully all that's going to.
You want to wind this up?
Do I need more money for roads? No. I reckon about the percentage.
We've got no prepaid today.
Is that right? The budget review, now I've got 2 cents worth off camera. Budget review is moving my salaries and the
Still
other
on
costs
camera?
behind the scenes.
Still on camera.
Is to then move that across into capital.
Goodbye.
So that's why there's a budget review. We're 2.2 at the moment, we're going up to 2.5. That's pulling wages, monies into capital. So instead of guys just grading roads for what we don't want, which is what the consensus has been over the last 12 months, don't dry grade roads because you have to. Let's put that into actually improving the shape of roads, putting more resource in the construction so it's you get a better outcome. That's what the budget review is showing.
So just a quick question. If we're able to do all of that now with what you've been doing, what the fuck were they doing before? Because they must have been just parking on the grader on the side of the road, just sitting there with their fucking feet up. Or because you'd have to be doing something with all of that time.
It has.
In my opinion, you can be busy doing stuff, but what I'm trying to say, and we're not 100% where I'd like to see we go, but we're on the peripheral of we are moving towards that we're actually making better decisions with better longer term outcomes than just driving around lying diesel.
Yeah.
Which is why council in the chamber put the policy 18 months ago to say, think about what you're doing, use it for the benefit of the community, not just
Which is the whole process. Yeah.
We're doing more than double.
But again,
Plus 100 k's of 100 k's.
But to clarify as well, we're doing 42 k's, which is the equivalent of doing 26 that we used to do. But the service level improvement by putting more rubble over more lineal meters of road, kilometres of road, and doing more scarifying means that the community will see a better rideability of 42 k's of road, not waiting another 12 months if they get it to get their road that's got 150 mil rubble on that they don't care about.
To be fair, not according to his family member though.
Let's
No comment.
we'll pick this up. We'll pick this up in the